I work the overnight shift at a 24-hour laundromat. I know how that sounds. It's not exactly a career, but it's quiet. It's mine. And after everything that happened with my last job, quiet was exactly what I needed. My name is Daniel. I'm 27. I fold other people's clothes from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And until about 6 weeks ago, the strangest thing that ever happened to me on shift was a guy trying to wash a full motorcycle jacket with the zipper still attached. It started with a woman. She came in around 1 a.m. on a Tuesday, which isn't unusual. We get a certain type of customer in the dead hours, people who work odd schedules, people who don't want to be seen, people who just couldn't sleep. She was maybe mid-40s, plain looking, with a laundry bag that seemed way too light to justify a trip at that hour. She loaded one machine, sat down with her back to the wall, and didn't look at her phone once. She just stared at the drum going around. I noticed her the way you notice anything slightly off when you're bored enough, but I didn't think much of it. She came back the following Tuesday, same time, same light bag, same machine, same seat. The Tuesday after that, I started watching for her. She showed up at 12:58 a.m. I know because I checked the clock when I heard the door. She nodded at me this time, small, tight nod, like we had some kind of understanding. I nodded back, and by the fourth week, I started thinking of her as a regular, the way bartenders did. I even had a name for her in my head. I called her Margaret, though I had no idea what her actual name was. It was on the 5th visit that something had shifted. I was in the back, sorting through the lost and found when I heard her come in. When I came back out front, she was already seated, but this time she was looking directly at the counter, at the spot where I usually stand, like she'd been waiting for me to appear. I smiled, did the professional nod thing, and went back to my work. A few minutes later, I heard her voice for the first time. "You live on Deller Street," she said. Not a question. I looked up. She was still facing the machines, not looking at me. "Sorry?" I said. "Off Deller, the gray building, 3rd floor." My mouth went dry. I do live on Deller Street, 3rd floor, gray building. I stood there for a second trying to figure out how to respond to that, running through explanations. Maybe she lived nearby. Maybe it was a guess. Maybe I'd seen her around the neighborhood and just hadn't made the connection. I asked her as calmly as I could manage if she lived in that area too. She didn't answer. Her machine finished its cycle. She transferred her clothes to a dryer, sat back down, and didn't say another word for the rest of her visit. When the dryer was done, she collected her things and left. I stood at the window and watched her walk to a blue car I didn't recognize. And then she was gone. I barely slept the next day. The following week, I almost called in sick. I went back and forth on it for an hour before I finally convinced myself I was overreacting. She knew my street. It didn't mean anything. Lots of people knew my street. I went to work. She came in at 12:58 again, and this time she sat down, and without any preamble, without even looking at me, she said, "You should call your brother." I don't talk about my brother at work. I've never mentioned him to anyone there. My brother and I have been estranged for almost 3 years, following a falling out that I'm not going to get into here. The point is, there's absolutely no casual way she could have known I had a brother, let alone that there was something unresolved between us. That last part is an assumption on my part, but the way she said it, the weight of it, didn't feel like a pleasantry. I asked her directly that time. I came out from behind the counter and asked her who she was and how she knew anything about me. She turned and looked at me for the first time, really looked at me, and she said, very quietly, "I'm just a woman doing her laundry." Then she went back to staring at the machine. I called out sick the next 2 weeks, told my manager it was a stomach thing. He didn't push back. I spent those 2 weeks trying to figure out who she was, running through every possible explanation. An old neighbor, a friend of a friend, someone I'd wronged without realizing it. I came up empty every time. When I finally went back, she wasn't there. Not that Tuesday, not the next. I started to think maybe it was over. Maybe she'd said what she wanted to say and moved on. I almost felt disappointed, which is insane, but that's the truth. Then, last Tuesday, I found something tucked under the windshield wiper of my car. It was a photograph, a printed photograph, slightly grainy, clearly taken from some distance. It was me, walking into my building, shot from across the street. On the back, the same kind of careful handwriting you'd see in a get well card, were 2 sentences. I've been watching longer than you know. You'll understand eventually. I went to the police the next morning. I showed them the photograph, told them everything. They took a report. They told me to keep my doors locked and to let them know if anything else happened. I could tell by the way the officer said it, I shouldn't expect much. That was 5 days ago. She hasn't come back to the laundromat. My manager says she hasn't been in at all, not even on days I wasn't there. It's like she's just gone. And some part of me, the part that hasn't slept properly in weeks, almost finds that worse than if she had come back. What I keep coming back to, what I can't stop turning over, is the thing she said about my brother. Because here's the part I didn't mention before. The same night she first said it, before I'd even had time to process it, I got a missed call from a number I didn't recognize. No voicemail. I looked it up later. The area code was his city. I don't know what she wanted, and I don't want to think it's my brother who's trying to do something. Because what happened between us was the kind of thing that doesn't get forgiven easily. I don't know if the photograph was a threat or a warning, or something else entirely. And I don't know if she's still watching. I'm back at work now because I need the money, and I refuse to let a stranger with a light laundry bag with too much information take that from me. But I check the parking lot every hour, and I keep my phone face up on the counter. And every Tuesday at 12:58, I watch the door.